So, now how to actually use your camera to do all of this, to fit it all in together, to try and get that balance right. I would suggest using the semi-automatic mode, aperture priority. Seen in most cameras, Canon and Nikon's seen as an A or AV on your camera settings, the knob on the top. Other cameras, most cameras in fact, it's shown as an A or something that starts with an A, so it's easy to find. What this aperture priority mode does is it prioritizes the aperture. You are going to tell the camera what aperture you want to be working at. If you want to go down as low as f4.5, narrow depth of field, only your subject will be in focus, background will be blurred, and you will let a lot of light into the lens. That's how I would suggest starting working with it, and move the F number up as you want to try different things. Start with a lower F number as your camera will allow you to do. You get to choose your ISO or tell your camera to put it on, or put it on automatic mode to tell your camera to choose it. So I would suggest low aperture, ISO, there will be a button to set your ISO. On this camera, it's here. So you press ISO and then you get to choose if it's auto, 100, 200, 400, 800 and going up. If you set it on auto, it will meter the light that's coming into the camera and see how it needs to adjust it. See if it's got to do a higher number because there's not much available. Sacrifice putting a little bit of grain in it, or if it'll be able to go as low as ISO 100, letting less light in but getting no grain. The third setting, shutter speed, you don't need to worry about in this mode. You need to be aware of it, you need to know what it does, but the camera will set it for you. You choose the ISO and the camera can set the other two things for you. Therefore, if you choose your ISO, choose your focal point, seen through the viewfinder as some dots, or on the screen it will be a square that you can move around with your arrows. Choose what your viewpoint is, press the shutter, and your camera will change the ISO and the shutter speed accordingly. You need to be aware of the shutter speed, because if you're in a low light situation, you get blurry pictures, you know that that's because your camera has had to adjust your shutter speed to very slow, to let more light in because you're in a low light situation. But of course then any movement of your hands on your camera or your subject moving through the picture will be blurred. That's when you have to start thinking about using a tripod to keep your camera still and changing other factors like lowering your F number or making sure that you're using a high ISO if you're not letting your camera control that automatically. So aperture priority mode is how I would suggest that you try your camera first. How I use my camera almost all of the time. In a studio situation, that's different, then I'll use it on manual. But when you're out and about moving, taking photos of children or dogs or animals or anything that's moving and you're not using a tripod, therefore your camera is moving, aperture priority is very good for this because it sets a lot of the settings automatically, but you're still in control. Any questions about that, again, just hop on the Facebook community.